Welcome everybody to the second ever edition of The Third Period, the one and only NBHL podcast. I'm your host Darren Basmajan, back for a second week, not fired after week one. That's already a big achievement. And I am joined here, this time to my right, by Rehan Server.
Server.
Yes, I said it right.
You said server.
I said server.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Roll the tape back. It says
Okay.
server, okay? And to my left, by Vasil Neshev. Vasil, thanks for coming back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Darren.
Oh, my pleasure. So, look, guys, let's get right into it here. Week one, I felt was a success. I think it went well, but there's a lot of stuff we can improve on. We asked you guys for feedback. You gave us a lot of feedback. We appreciate it. Obviously, you notice the setup is a little bit different. Yes, I'm wearing headphones. It looks a bit stupid, but it helps me hear what the guys' levels are at and everything like that, so deal with it. And as for the rest of it, yes, we know Vasil needs to speak louder. He'll do it. Don't worry about it. We have better setup with the mics too, and that'll be easier. I didn't get any feedback of Rehan. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I'll take it as good, I think.
let's take it as good for now. And Eagle at Master Control, thank you for taking care of the technical aspects of the show.
And I have a microphone.
And he has a microphone, so that's what Eagle sounds like. He's not actually a bird, he's a human being. And finally, thanks to Sportira Cage, where we are hosted right now and where we're having this great show. So let's jump right into it. Last week, we did leagues B, D, and E. Now, this week, we're going into F, G, and H as we move on along down the list of all the leagues in NBHL that we can hit. As we said last week, we're just kind of going into like a vaguer type thing. We're just giving details on the teams. Obviously, we're not breaking down individual games or individual matchups or individual players. We would like to do that. We will try and do that later on as the season goes on. But for now, just kind of a broader look at each of the leagues and who's in here and where they're at. We'll talk a little bit about each team, and then we'll talk about who we think our best contenders and stuff are for the leagues, and then we'll get out of here on that. Trying to make it a much shorter show than it was last week, so let's see how that goes. Let's jump right into it here. Let's start off with F. We'll start off at it's hard to say the top because there's a lot of teams that haven't played that many games, but let's start off with the lads. Vasil, what do you have to tell us about the lads?
Thanks, Darren. Well, the lads actually are reigning champions from the E-League last year. The I-League, sorry. They've played in the league several years as different names before: Gun Patrol, Black Jackets, a few variations that Chris Clement has put a twist on. Regularly, though, they use the same lineup. This year, they added Marc-Andre Paulin, which is a big addition considering their jump from the I-League last year. Captain Chris Clement usually centers that line along with Wade Taylor, and a lot of very solid creative offense could be generated from that line. They're sitting at 1-1 right now from what I see here with a nice goal differential, so I'm assuming they won one big game so far, which is good to see them start out, hot out of the gate, just where they left off last year. I mentioned him a little bit last week. Phil Matthew, stellar goalie, one of the best in the league. He really helps them out. He's been there since the start. And they have a few really good guys who they're friends with everyone on the team, and they bring in a lot of heart every week. I could think of Tyler Poirier, they call him Teeps, just the most hustle on the whole team. And, he's a good two-way guy. He could play defense, could play forward, very versatile, and he has a lot of leadership to that team. Other than that,
I think that's a pretty good look at the team. I feel like I know everybody on the team already. So that's sounds like. Anyways, for me, it always starts in nets. So if you're telling me the goalie's a top flight goaltender, that's already a big start. It's a good reason that they could be a good team this season.
Well, I think one guy is just sparing for the team is Marc-Andre Paulin. And he might spare for them, but I mean, that guy, anytime he plays, in one game played so far, he has 4 points. So at this rate, I think he's going to get
maybe you should make the full squad is what you're trying to say.
I think he's going to be there, and whenever he's there, teams should watch out.
All right, let's move on to the Brotherhood. Rehan, tell me about this team. They've been in the league since summer 2011. As of right now, they're at a 1-0 record. The last stats that I have.
Right.
Tell me about these guys.
Brotherhood, the name does serve them correctly. They're a group of friends who have played in previous years with the Challengers as well. So again, we talked about goalies and how important goalies are. Their goalie is Nicolas Baudet. I have played with him previously. I won a championship with him in the B. That's how good of a goalie he is. So when I saw him play in the F, I was kind of surprised because that's going to be one tough time to beat just because of his merits alone. But then you have a supporting cast in Ryan Dussault, who played in the A last year with the All Blacks, or AB Franchise, one of those teams. And then the list goes on. Lee Williams, Chris Onofre, I think his brother Mike Onofre. So again, a really good, well-rounded team. backed by a probably Vezina goalie type player. So I think they're going to be a really strong team.
Sounds to me like they might be a little bit too strong for F.
Well, you know what? That's a good thing about NBHL as well, is that you can't be too strong because we all have a point system. So F having 10 points, they've managed their assets properly. So I think it's that debate now is kind of tough to say, because if you have the points, you're in the right league.
All right, well, we'll have to follow that as the season goes on, and we'll see if maybe they had just had some good value cap guys. You know, they some good general managing maybe going on
That's
there.
what it is.
Riviera Boys. Riviera Boys, I'm assuming, is referring to the now closed Vegas casino, the Riviera, with the dirty stained felts and the really mean dealers. I don't know why I know that. I've never been there, but I do know that because I have been there and won a lot of money. Thank you. Rayhan, go.
Riviera Boys, they're not from Las Vegas, that's for sure. But again, goaltending, you know, a good part of their success probably with Andrew Maggio, or as Maggio, I'm not sure how I would pronounce it, and I don't want to butcher someone's name, so
Maggio sounds good.
Maggio
I like
sounds
Maggio. It's like Joe DiMaggio, you know.
So let's go with Maggio.
Yeah.
And then of course you have the Chaput brothers, with Steve Chaput probably one of the leaders in scoring in the F. So, you know, and when you watch Steve Chaput play, he's a really dominant two-way player, and I've seen him play actually a couple of times in the past. And the one thing I like about his thing, besides the hustle, is he has a really good nose for the game. The vision, which is not easy to acquire by most players, he has that as well. So I think this team might not be maybe up with the rest of them, but I think with the goalie and a couple of solid players, I think they could be a good team down the road.
Rayhan, that was very interesting information. Next week, your homework, I want to know what the Riviera reference is.
I will speak to them and I'll get to you.
All right, it could be Nick Riviera from The Simpsons. It could be, you know, I'm anything's good. I just want to know.
I'll get that information for you, Darren.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the wash-ups. They are 1-2. They started in this league a year ago, I guess, summer 2014, and but they were champs, the F champs, defending F champs. So Vasil, tell me about these guys.
Right. The Washups, actually, they do not live up to the name. I kind of assumed so last year, but they started slow, and that's why I'm saying that. They ended up heating it up, making it to the finals, and then beating the Terminators in the finals, which is the team I played for. They're young, they have a lot of speed, and from what I noticed, it's actually the same roster coming back, or a large majority of it. Eric Donliner, who was instrumental last year for them to win the cup. Andrew Lynn, who scored a few really big goals in the 2 final games against us. Anthony and brother Chris Picarakos are actually really, really quick and deceptively use their speed in complementing Andrew Lynn and Eric Donliner.
So for you, I mean, okay, they're at 1-2 right now. Do you think it's a case of history repeating itself, that they're just coming out of the gates a little bit slow, or is it just a question of the fact that maybe this year F might be a bit stronger than it was last year?
I'm thinking F looks similar to what it did last year.
Okay.
2 less teams, actually, so it might be a little bit tighter, depending on the matchups. However, I think it's just more a little bit of a hangover because they know they could do exactly what they did last year, so they're not worried at the beginning of the season.
Kind of like the LA Kings in the NHL, right?
Right.
Except this year it didn't work out. So hopefully, I guess they're hoping it's not the same thing this year. Moving on to the Ballers, they're 0-1-1. I hate ties,
Yes.
and we've played 4 games, Cray-America, and we have 2 ties. So I really hate them this year, but I'm sure they're not crazy about it either. But it's a point. So they have 1 point on the standings column, but they've been in this league for a while, right, Vasil?
Right. They've actually been since the summer of 2008. I believe the captain is Matthew Butcher. I've played with him several times, and actually a lot of the guys on this roster. I had the chance to watch him last night against GK, and it was a nail biter. It was a very, very heated and fast-paced game. They had a really strong blue line, which I'm surprised they kind of let up 4 goals. Brian Kustek, Pat Leclerc, Mike Bianco, and Jacob Nomiak, who scored a really nice goal before getting tossed. Their offense is also really, really good with Kyle Dana, Gabriel Walaou, Dan Derry, Jay Sekiano, who scored a really nice goal late in the game. The way I see it right now, they're 0-2-1 winless, but that's going to turn around. These guys have played for a very long time, and the way they played yesterday, definitely due for a win.
Oh, that's right. You said, I had said 0-1-1, but they're 0-2-1 because they played and lost against GK Light, who finally played their first game of the season. Rayhan, these guys have been in this league since fall 2013. They're 1-0, technically undefeated, and so they're tied at the top of the leaderboards right now. What can you tell me about these guys?
There's nobody in this league that don't know about GK. They're a franchise that really promotes themselves well. It's a branding, if you really want to think about it. GK Light have won a championship in the past, and it's a team that's led by Charles Strong and Kia Chiaton. Then you have some veterans from years past, like Sean Ellis. So they have a lot of depth on this team, and kind of like, I'm sure Vassal will agree with this. This is a team, because they have a couple of other teams in GK Fluff and GK Vic. They're able to really shuffle lineups really well. So I'm surprised it took them this long to get there going. But I mean, they're 1-0 right now. But again, I think GK Light is a team you expect them to play well and be in the later rounds in the postseason.
All right, well, that's our look at F. We're not going to bring back the same format that we had last week, where we were talking about expected, unexpected. It dragged on long, and not much came out of it. So what we will talk about, though, is, since everyone just cares about, who are the contenders. Normally, I'd like to go for about 3, but 3 would be half the league here. So let's give me 2 contenders, just 2. Rayhan, let's start with you.
The first contender for me, the team I'm really high on, is Brotherhood.
Okay.
And I mentioned the reason why was because of the fact of the goaltending and so much experience amongst the guys who played before in Challengers. They played in the A with Green Army as well. I think this is a team that I'm surprised, like you said, they're in the F, but I guess points-wise they made it work. And another team I would pick for contenders is probably GK Light. I know statistically maybe the lads are probably maybe a bit stronger, but I think GK Light, they have success every year. I mean, they find ways to bring the roster together. They can find new players, but they somehow always gel. You can never count these guys out. I mean, to me, they're a contender year after year.
Vassal, give me 2 contenders.
Yeah, on my end, I'm going to go with the hot hand. Both teams that won last year. First, the lads in the I-League. They actually added players, so they're only getting better. And the wash-ups as well. Both those teams are really fast, and I'm thinking they're going to be able to utilize their speed.
One thing Wash-Ups notice here on the stat sheet, they've allowed 16 goals so far. That's a rough start. If you're allowing more than 5 goals a game, it's not really the best place to be in this type of league, especially at the higher you go.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for F. Let's jump down to League G. I'm still getting used to calling them leagues, not divisions, but bear with me, guys. So the G League, we've got quite a few more teams. We've got 10 teams, which makes for a better mix, a more interesting division, of course. Let's start off with the Shockers. I'm known in other media to do a little dance when I talk about a team called the Shockers. I will not be doing it here, but
No.
Rayhan, let's talk about the Shockers here. They're 2-0-1, sorry, 5 points. They're tied for the top in the G League.
Right.
And they've been in this league since summer 2010.
Well, that's really impressive, because now we're in 2015 and they have 2 championships in that span of time. More impressive than that is they have 17 goals for in just 3 games and 5 goals against. Out of the top 6 scorers in the G right now, they have 4 out of 6. So it seems like they're really just, off the gates, they're really hot. They're playing really well right now. And I think one thing that really I guess not surprises me, but what I like about them is they're consistent. You have guys like Matt Blackman, a consistent player in the league. I mentioned he's one of the leaders in all of G. Then you have Jeff Breeze, another hard worker on the team. So I'm saying there's so many names on this list. You can go on, and they're consistently good ball hockey players. And I said I'm really impressed with the fact that their differential is probably better than some teams have scored goals in 2 games.
Basically, yeah. Except for 2 teams who scored 12 goals, that's right on the money there. That's an impressive statistic. Next team down the list, 2-1. We've got the Studs. What can you tell me, if anything, about these guys?
Well, Studs, I think they're probably maybe not as deep as the Shockers, but they're still a very good team. And the fact that 2-1 does say something about them. And when you look at their roster, you've got Dave Gallagher, a lot of experience, as well as you have Norm Plouffe. Everyone knows Norm, and anyone who's played against Norm can tell you that age might be deceiving, but he's a really good ball hockey player. He has the vision. He makes the right decisions. The speed might not be there, but his smarts is definitely there. A good hockey IQ. And obviously another guy, with I guess a veteran like Norm is Gordy Hildenbrandt. Another person who's usually top in scoring. I mean, you look at someone like Gordy, it might not really impress you because it's maybe not as fast as some of the other guys, but he'll always be top in scoring because, again, the right place at the right time. So I think this team has a lot of experience and veterans, so to speak, but I think they're a team that you don't want to take lightly.
I talked about earlier how I hate ties, but if I hate ties, this next team must despise them. The Muffin Stuffers, they've played 4 games, won 1, and tied 3. Vassal, tell me about these guys.
Right, now the Muffin Stuffers, I watched them this week play, actually, against the Broadway Bullies. They're a bunch of veterans, much like the Studs. Not necessarily older guys, but experienced guys. They have a strong blue line. John Montre is a really good player, has a really heavy shot from the blue line. Mike Habib, who's really good hands and very talented playmaker, I would say, offensively. Not necessarily known for scoring goals, but more for setting up the play. As well, other seasoned veterans like Chris Monroe and Lawrence Spivak, they usually play 1 or 2 teams a year, and they usually play as a group, so these guys have played together a lot. And I'm also, I was really happy to see they brought in a young player, Daniel Davila Carey, who is also a product of the NBHL Youth League, and he actually scored a goal against us late to tie it up on the Tuesday game.
So it's a sign of growth of the youth jumping up.
Yeah.
Well, like when you say the youth league, how old is this kid?
He should be 19 right now.
Okay, so he's not that young. I don't
yeah.
feel that bad.
No.
Because I've scored like 2 goals in my career of like 10 years in this league. So if 19 is not that bad. If you told me it was like 14, I'd be more offended.
But basically, the storyline for the Muffin Stuffers is the 1 win and 3 ties says it all. Stability. They're going to be stable all throughout the season. They're going to get the necessary spares to make sure they're in the run for the playoffs.
All right. Well, how about the Piranhas?
Well, Piranhas, I'm sure Vasil can tell you, it's a team that's the most winningest team probably in all of NBHL. They have 21 years, or 21 seasons, you could say, of experience, or even years, either or. 7 championships in their history, so a team that's well known throughout everybody. Franchise player, face of the franchise, GM, everybody is Jeff Howells, another well-known personality in NBHL. I think Jeff Howells also leads the goaltending in all-time stats. He's probably top 3 for sure. So, a team that's been around season after season. A lot of respect for a team like this. They're good representatives for NBHL as well. And then if you go down the name, there's still DeForge, Christopher's playing with them. You have Eric Larson that's playing with them. Solid veterans, this is a team, year after year, you're going to see them. They're going to be probably, not maybe always on the top, maybe in the middle. Stats are there, but again, contending for a championship. So I think you can't say anything but good things about Piranhas.
All right, Broadway Bullies. You just mentioned that you saw them play yesterday, or
right? Just before I get to them, I wanted to add on to the Piranhas.
Okay, go ahead.
Jeff Howells does in fact have he's number 1 on the all-time stats for goaltending, and by a long shot too. I think he has more than 100 more wins than any other goalie there.
That's ridiculous.
And, I know the league.
Move aside, let somebody else play. What the hell is this? All right, continue.
No, it's good. I think I know the league pretty well, and at least half of that is because of Jeff Howells. He brings in new guys all the time and kind of shows them the ropes. And he knows the league inside out.
Sounds to me like a guy we should get on this show. Maybe Rayhan might not be here next week.
Hey, for Jeff, I'll step aside anytime.
All right, that's a team player. Way to go, Rayhan. It's okay. We'll bring you back.
So the Broadway Bullies, right. This is a team that my friends and I started, Jim Sirwa and Gabe Kaplansky, back in 2011. We won the first year the team was made. We were kind of underranked in a sense. We're lower than we should have been maybe. But since we've had a few good seasons, this summer it's a little bit of a different roster because our best player, Jim Sirwa, was actually going in nets.
Wow.
And surprisingly, he's doing well so far. He hasn't lost a game and he has a shutout. Offensive weapons are the same as usual except me and Jim. We have Kenny Scott, who's a really good 2-point ranked player. Alex Haddad, who's been sparing for them. He's going to ideally qualify for the playoffs. Sunny Patel, who's a hybrid. He's a goalie. I mentioned him last week, and he's a forward here. He's an elite scorer. He has a really good touch on the ball. Scott Kelly was a great playmaker, and Gabe Kaplansky, who I mentioned, started the team with us. And these guys are the veteran guys on the team. They're the leaders, and basically, depending on how these guys do, and Jim and Nets, that's how the season's going to unfold for the Bullies.
Now you keep saying us and we. What are you coaching this team? Are you sponsoring the team? Is your face on their jersey? What's the deal?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
It's I do help behind the bench because I've been there since the beginning. Also, my optimistic side.
Okay.
One day, hoping if there's a team I would play for again, right, it would be my Broadway Bullies. So,
Well,
staying optimistic.
Well, we're all hoping. We're all pulling for that. Let's move on to old school now.
Right, old school. A team captained by Dave O'Toole. They've been around for a number of years, almost 10. Dave O'Toole usually puts a really good roster, friends and experienced guys, a mix of both. Some young guys too, actually, some pretty good athletes. I've had the chance to play them several times, usually in a lower rank. It's nice to see them move up to the G League. Looking at the names they have on there, Pat Leclerc, I mentioned him before for Ballers. He's a really good defenseman to have on your team, and as far as leadership, shot, offense, defense, anything, he's a great asset. Matt Abbott, who's a breakout player. I hadn't known him before this year, but he's actually doing really well. I think he's averaging over 2 points a game for them right now. Marko Jelavic, who's actually, I believe, representing Croatia in Pittsburgh this year, which is really nice for him. I'm really happy for him. And the Maitland brothers, who have been with the team since the beginning. They're 1-2-1 right now, with actually a plus goal differential, which is surprising considering they're under 500. But I would assume they would finish middle of the pack. One of their losses was against the Bullies, and actually one of their draw was against the Bullies, and it was a really hard-fought game. They should definitely be in the top half of the middle.
The top half of the middle. I'm gonna hold on. Okay, I got it. All right, moving on now. Let's go to Black Ox.
I think it's a really cool name, actually, with Blackhawks and the Blackhawks.
Well, when we say it fast, I really think we're talking about the Blackhawks, but then I guess I don't know. I don't know if that's the point or.
Well, moving right along with the Blackhawks, a team that. Again, I've been around for quite a few years, and Chris Mills was one of their players, hasn't played in a while. He's come back to the team as well, which, from what I understand, is a big lift for them. Moving on, obviously, there's Dave Shipman on the team, another well-known player, a good leader as well. I mean, people who know Dave Shipman, who know, like, he's a guy that leads by example, and he's been with them. He's been their focal point as well. Their focal point of the team. And it's really funny because, you're seeing maybe a new trend happening in this league. Vassal just mentioned how Broadway Bullies switched player goalies. So Jimmy Surratt went into nets, and Sunny Patel, who's a goalie, went outside. And in this team, you have James Eade, who's primarily known for a goalie. He's actually playing as a forward, if I'm not mistaken.
A defenseman.
Defenseman, sorry. So maybe it's a new trend happening. Goalies are playing forwards and vice versa. But yeah, all is to say that I think one good thing about Black Ox is the experience that they have with guys like Jason Klein, guys like James Eade, even if he's a defenseman, not a goalie. I think that's what's going to help them because they believe with their experience and their youth, that combination of speed, all that, it's going to be something good for them. So I think Black Ox, another team that I could see in top, probably Final Four.
All right, we'll see if that prediction comes true. The Damned United.
The Damned United, formerly known as the Hanina Chelios, which is
a great name.
That's a great. This league is full of great names,
Yeah.
but that formerly known as the Hanina Chelios. They're led by Alex Corriveau, a really good player in this league, a natural scorer if you want to say it. Their goalie is JP Flood, and from what I understand, he's won the Vezina in this league before, so that's always a great honor to have on any team. And one thing about them is, we were discussing before our podcast, is there's many teams that they make it to the last stand, but they just can't punch their ticket. So this is a team, they've reached 3 finals in 4 years, and I think any team that can get that accomplished eventually will just pass and get one through. So I think they have high hopes for themselves. I have high hopes for them as well, because making the finals for 3 years and 4 years, I think you might want to push. So I think Damned United, they have high hopes for themselves, and I think we should have high hopes for them as well.
And this isn't like the NHL where, like, let's say after 3 years your window might close and oh no, they're too old or anything. Like, it's NBHL. You could still
the window's
compete.
there for many years.
That's it, exactly. But much longer for some than others, though.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Diamond Hawks. Vassal.
Yeah, the Diamond Hawks. Yeah, they're sitting at 1-2 right now with a -2 goal differential. I've had the chance to play them several times. I know a few guys on the team, Marc-André Laroche and Matthew Lafleur-Harewood. They actually added a new addition this year, Justin Manassa, who's a really, really good goalie.
I know that guy.
I believe you know him,
Yes,
right?
I do know him quite well.
That gives them, that gives them a little boost they need because they don't usually play in this high of a league. They have in the past, but I feel like recently they were, through the winters and falls, they've kind of slowed down a little bit. But I believe they could be successful. They would just really need Marc-André Laroche and Remo Tarashi to light it up like they have in the past. So,
Well, again, for me, there's personal interest in this team. I want to see how Justin does, but I also don't want him to get tired before our game. So I don't know what day they're playing, but hopefully it's not Monday or Tuesday.
It is Monday. Monday, I believe.
Anyways, I'm not going to get started. I'm going to talk to Justin off the record for this. But anyways, put your focus where your team is supposed to be. Anyway, sorry.
Higher teams don't take presidents, right?
Eh?
The higher teams don't take
Not
presidents.
we made Justin, okay? I'm kidding. Justin's an incredible goalie. If we made it anywhere, it's because of him. Move down the list here. Finally, we've got High Chicago. They're 0-3-1. Obviously, not a great start for them. Vassal, what do you got to tell me about High Chicago?
Yeah, High Chicago were they're seasoned vets. They've played in the league for a long time, I believe, since
Summer 2009. Yeah.
4.
4?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry
All
about that. So over 10 years now. Generally the same guys. They have Donnie Broccolini in nets. Sorry about that. He's been there for as long as I can remember, and they have pretty good offensive weapons in Joey Dolce, Nick DeSantis, who's a Hall of Famer, Dan Derry mentioned before, and for Ballers, and last week as well. They could do well. They're used to this type of caliber, and sitting at 0-3-1 is a little unexpected, especially with the goal differential. But I know they're going to win a few games, and they're not mismatched by any means in this division.
All right, well, that's a quick look at all the 10. Guys, I know you're going to tell us we missed some kind of topics or something like that, but just give us the feedback, get back to us. As we go on with the season, we'll get more in-depth, especially with the teams who are still alive in the playoff race as we come back to this division. Guys, give me quick contenders. Let's keep going with 2. I like 2. We won't water it down too much. Rayhan, give me your 2 top contenders.
Well, again, I mean, it's hard to not to state the obvious, but you have to go with the Shockers. Like I said, I mean, their goal differential in just 3 games is insane. On top of that, a team that's won the championship before, so they know what it feels like to get that elusive trophy, and they want to get back to that point. So that's an easy and obvious one. Then after that, it's kind of tough, but if I really have to pick someone, I'm going to go with Robert Bullies. I really like this switch between Sunny Patel and Jimmy Sirwa from goalie to forward. So I think this team has a lot of grit. And of course, Scott Kelly, I play with him as well. I know what he can bring to the team, an incredible playmaker. And then obviously Alex Haddad, he's sparing, but again, if you can qualify a guy like that, that's always to your advantage. And last but not least, if Vasil's coaching them and he's behind that bench, then I think we're rooting for this team all the way.
It's a little bit like Mighty Ducks 2 when Gordon Bombay ruined his knee playing in the minors, came back with the cane.
It's actually a more like Conway who gave his spot up to...
He didn't give up his spot. His knee got wrecked.
I know, but same sense.
And he's coaching him. No, I'm not. Mighty Ducks 2. It's not Charlie Conway.
Okay.
All right. Vasil, settle this.
Okay, well, I'm not going to say anything about the Bullies at this point as far as contenders.
Which one of us is right?
You're Charlie Conway.
Remember who the host is.
I like
Gordon Bombay. Come on, Gordon Bombay.
I like Bombay. I like Conway. I mean,
don't tell me Adam Banks. Tell me Adam Banks, you're off the show. Okay.
Scored that big goal there,
Cake
but
eater.
no.
Okay, all right, so move on.
Okay, so
who you got? Who are your top 2 contenders?
I mean, it's hard not to say Piranhas because every single season Jeff makes sure that they are contenders.
Okay.
No matter which division. In this case, obviously, with Eric Larson, the amount of goals this guy could score, having the veteran defensive core that they have. Thinking of Steve Richko and Eric Goldie back there. If DeForge, if he's playing center, or I don't know if he's playing defense, it's a huge asset back there. They're always contenders, and heavily so in this division, I'd say. And it's hard not to disagree with Rayhan. The Shockers, everything's seems to be going their way right now, and I don't see many teams being able to slow them down.
All right, so consensus, we have the Shockers, then we got to split with the rest. Like I said, we'll follow that. We'll come back to that later on as the season progresses. Let's finally move on to the H League. We'll start off with the Disciplined Daddies. They are 2-1-1. Vasil, talk to me about these guys.
2-1-1 is a good record for these guys right now. They're going to be a heavily offensive team. They have a first line. They added 2 new guys who I played with before, Adam McSweeney and Blair Kleiman. Very good tandem. They're almost considered a duo, as in they always play together and always put up really, really good numbers, especially at this level. They also have a returning player who led them last time, I believe, Ryan Rourke. He plays all over, and he's a really good offensive threat, really good nose for the net, and really good hands to get it to the net. 2-1-1 is, like I said, right, and the goal differential is also right, because like I said, there's going to be high-scoring games with this team.
Ruthless, Ray.
And just before moving on to Ruthless...
No, Ruthless, next.
Right, so...
Okay, go ahead, all right. Let's go Disciplined Daddies, sure.
I mean, I'm sure you guys know by now, I'm a big stats guy. I love stats, love what it brings. And, he just mentioned, Vasil, that strong players. So Adam McSweeney, Blair Kleeman, and Ryan Orr combined for 37 points in 4 games or 3 games. 37.
I thought you were going to tell me like in the past season or something.
No.
I'm like, that's not that impressive. Okay.
And basically the top 3 scorers in all of the League H is these 3 guys. So this offensive power to me is just mind-boggling how strong they are. And again, 5 points. I think Adam McSweeney is a Hall of Famer now.
Yes,
so that should already
just
be
2 summers ago.
So
not last one, the one before.
That's really mind-boggling to me, but hats off to them. Great start in that sense. Ruthless, captained by Marco St. Pierre's. Good team. Just won a couple nights ago, so they should. I'm not sure if it's reflecting here. They should be 3-0 if it isn't, which again a strong thing for them. Going back to goalies, there are netminders Dave Mello, and Dave Mello is well known in the league. He's played in a higher division, so for sure playing in a league like H, for sure it's going to be an easier maybe a little bit. Not easier, but I guess he can see the field a bit better. The shots won't be as hard, most probably, unless he's fading disciplined daddies, which is another story. But no, a good all-around team. Dave Shipman, we just mentioned before, plays in Blackhawks, but a well-rounded team. But Dave Mello would maybe be the focal point of this team, and why I think they're probably 3-0 at this point.
Mighty Pucks. Speaking of the Mighty Ducks earlier, the Mighty Pucks. It's almost like I knew it was coming. Vassal.
Yeah, just a quick note on David Mello before that. He's actually been reffing a lot too, so he's got total different angles of insight on the game, and
Wow.
I feel like his game is just going to get elevated more and more, especially as the season goes on, because he's focused on one team and learning the rest of the league. Now the Mighty Pucks sitting at 2-1. I've actually had the privilege of playing with these guys in the past, with a coworker of mine at the time, Abhishek Sharma. He's a really good defenseman to have on your team, really good leader and team player type of guy. Offensively, Harish Khaira. I played with him a few times, and this guy, he's got a lot of speed, and I know I've said this a lot, but a good nose for the net. I mean, he could really get to the net without necessarily carrying the ball there. He's just going to flip it and get there because he's that fast. And two other guys that I have not met but are doing really well this year, Levi Haduzi and Mike Tsor. I guess if these guys keep up these numbers, they're going to do much better than 2-1 later on in the season.
We'll have to follow that. Montreal Rebels. Rayhan.
Montreal Rebels been around for probably 2 to 3 years now, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 4 at the latest. But it's a team that's goaltended by Shiraz Yunus, a really good friend of mine as well. He's kind of like the GM, the captain, the goalie of this team, kind of like a Roberto Luongo back in the days when he was
That's
the
a
captain.
lot of hats to wear.
It is a lot of hats to wear, but if anybody can pull it off, it's probably him, because he keeps everything in check. And obviously then when you talk about the offense, you have really great players in Jay Upal, Shahryar Kudus. You have Ozier Wahid, who's actually an up and young player. You're going to hear his name a lot probably in the next coming seasons, because he's really starting to get his game together. And a team like that, again, I would say they're probably in the middle of the pack, but come playoffs time, I think they can definitely excel.
How about the Van Buren boys?
I love the name. Has a Seinfeld reference to it. For those who don't know, I'm a big Seinfeld buff. But good team. And again, the thing with Van Buren boys that I've seen in the past is the consistency is not always there. But I think this year, they're going to get it together with Ryan Finnerty and Matt Lalla, who are probably their top 2 scorers right now. They're going to probably have to carry most of the load. So when it comes down for these guys, they're going to need more scoring when it comes down the roster. Because first line can usually get you points. Where you go far is when your second and third line can start contributing. So I would keep an eye on them, but I think they would be like a middle to below middle of the pack team.
CTH, Vassal.
Yes, and just real quick before that on Van Buren boys, sorry about that again.
Jump in earlier. Don't make me look bad. Okay, go
Don't
ahead.
make them look bad. It's okay.
I noticed that in the past
hate you, Ray.
they were
Sorry.
always using a buddy of ours, Ryan Kelly, he's an A-ranked player, and he's very offensive. And I guess if they do slow down, I'm hoping they get to qualify him, because he would be a really big asset. In fact, I'm a little surprised if he's not there full time. He may have just missed a game on the stats. CTH, a team that's been around for a while. Actually, if I look here, they've been 6 years, I believe.
Summer 2009 is what I have here.
Yeah, exactly. 6 years. A lot of the same guys coming back through a few different names. They've had PCUK in the past. It's not all the same guys, but a big core of guys. Fred Chow, Steve Lay, Martin Robillard, and who else did I have that stood out? Jean Tatsuat, who's very common. I noticed him a lot because we wear the same number, and I've played against him so many times that I know exactly what to expect. 1-1 sounds right. These guys, they've played a lot, like I said, and they should finish around the middle of the pack.
Okay, big question now. What does CTH stand for?
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
That's your homework
That's
for
my
next
homework.
week. Moving on to the Killers. Homage to the band, or have they committed murder? What is there to tell me about the Killers?
That might be another homework for me, but no, I don't know why they refer to that name.
I'm hoping
Killer
it's not the
Instinct,
second. just if it's the second, don't tell us. I don't want to know.
Yeah, so the Killers have been around for 5 years. Now, I noticed a returning name that I haven't seen around the NBHL in a while, but when I did, that's all you would see. Chris Restinas. He is his all-time stats is well over goal a game. Just again, I've mentioned this before. Guys that are deceptive like this that don't wear gloves. Well, he doesn't wear gloves, so it throws you off. But he's just so fast that he just finds a way to get to the net every single time. Other than that, they have brothers Connor and Trevor Gagnon, who Connor, I believe, plays for Angry Birds, and Trevor plays for DTP. So these guys are experienced players that, looking at these 3 guys, are going to be very top-heavy, but I would assume if they maintain the scoring, it's not going to be an issue for them to remain at least in the top half of the standings.
All right, well, let's move on down the line to the Frenchies. Rayhan.
Frenchies have also a couple of veteran players. Jordan Pernetta is the first name that comes to mind. Been in the league for a while. He's played in higher division teams, and I always like that when these players can bring that experience to a team that maybe not be as experienced as as his own resume. And then, of course, their goaltending is Sebastian Roux. This team so far, I think they're winless, if I'm not mistaken. But what's impressive about them is that there's 0 goal differential. So I think Vassal kind of alluded to this before, is that if a team has tied or they're in that margin, you know that they're staying along with teams. They're not getting blown out and they're not blowing anybody out. So they're sticking with the teams. So what you're hoping for now is they just start to put in a few in the net and win. But I think a team that, again, a lot of teams are going to underestimate, but I think if they start qualifying a couple more guys to help Jordan Pernetta out, so it should be a team that hopefully can contend for the playoffs.
Vassal, Skytag. These guys are sitting at 0-2 right now.
0-2 and -7, which I'm a little surprised with, to be honest, because I'm seeing a few of the names, only a few that I recognize. One guy I mentioned before, Daniel Davila Carey, the young guy, 19 years old, and a friend of mine, Patrick O'Neill, they're both really good offensive players. And I'm assuming they're going to get it going a little bit later on. 3 goals in 2 games. Pat usually scores that on his own. So they have another guy. I'm hoping it's not the actor. Jimmy Carey seems to be doing well this year as well.
Or a former goaltender for the Washington Capitals as well, right?
The net detective, they call them.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously they have the potential to score a lot of goals. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see if they, get the mature half of the game, the defensive part, and maintain a lead, maybe get a lead and play with it. And I'm hoping to get to see them win the game sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. We know it's tough, but once you get that first one, once you learn how to play within the confines of this league, that's where things start clicking together, and it sounds like they have some good veteran experience to hopefully guide them that way. Rayhan, last team in the H League, we have the Monstars. Again, reference to Space Jam, I hope.
Yeah, I would think so, definitely, because I can't think of anything else. Maybe they just misspelled. It was supposed to be Monsters. So it could be.
I almost prefer that, but okay.
No, it's really unfortunate that to start seeing their 0-2 with a goal differential of -8. But I think they have a strong defensive system, and for me, watching hockey all my life, one thing I always agree: if a team plays good defense, down the road they're always going to get their offense going, which is something really tough. So,
well, I mean, they've given up 13 goals, right? So something's not going right.
Well, maybe they're going to tweak their defense a bit more,
okay.
but I will believe that's their strong point.
Sometimes it's also matchups too. Sometimes people are missing.
Definitely.
It's beginning of the season, right? So we'll give them a pass on this one. But if their strength is their defense, hopefully that'll help carry them. Yeah.
Exactly, and of course you have the veterans again going down in the league, like down in the H is Mike and Ryan Knopp. And again, like I said, a team like this reminds me of a team that if they can sneak into the playoffs at the last spot, I think with those two, as well as Jason Reddy and Pinsky, Ryan Pinsky, my mistake, the last two guys I just mentioned are good complementary players for Mike and Ryan Knopp. So this is a team, again, like I said, if they can somehow just manage to squeak into the playoffs, I think it's a team that maybe can cause a few upsets here and there.
All right, guys, it's time to finish this, to wrap this one up. We went through the 10 teams. Contenders. Vassal, let's start with you this time. Give me 2 contenders.
The first one I'm going to say is the Van Buren boys. Because, like I said, their offensive potential, if it's capped, they're going to be even if they're trading goals with every other team, they should come out on top every time. So them and another offensive team, the Discipline Daddies. I'm thinking it's all offense division.
I was going to say, doesn't defense win championships?
Not if you scored 37 points in the first 3 games.
Yeah. All right, Rayhan, so are you going to agree with them or are you going to go off the board?
Well, one I'll agree, which is Discipline Daddies. I think for obvious reasons, nothing more needs to be said. But I'm going to go with the second one as well in the standings, which is Ruthless. And, again, built to what Vassal was saying earlier with Dave Mello, maybe focusing on one team and, getting that extra experience as a referee. I would say that this is a team that has the offense, but if he can really be lights out, they can maybe even cause frustrations to teams like Discipline Daddies, because all scorers hate hot goalies.
Yeah.
Not physically, but
I got you. I got
stats. So I think if he can become that one goalie that can frustrate even a couple of players, so I think is what you want. So he probably might be one of the better goalies in this league.
By the way, I hate like good-looking goalies too. I mean, it's bad enough that they're playing goalie, but like if they're stoning you and then plus they take off the helmet and they've got the flow going. Like as a bald man, it bothers me.
It's a double-edged sword.
That's it. I would definitely agree with that. All right. Well, that's it. We promised you a look through F, G, and H. That's what we've done. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Again, keep the feedback coming. We do appreciate it. Good, bad, and in between. It's always good to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. You can reach these fine gentlemen. So far, still no Twitter account. Don't know what's taking so long, but we should probably get on that. Rayhan at mbhl.ca. Vasil, V-A-S-S-I-L, just in case you guys don't know how it's spelled, at mbhl.ca.
Like to know how my name is spelled.
Rayhan. I guess, yeah, an R-E-H-A-N, just in case.
I'm just kidding there.
It's also written on the screen, right? Eagle, I know you're about to say it.
It's not written on the screen.
Okay, your mic's not working well. It's okay, don't turn it on. We don't want to hear it. And you can reach me via Facebook. I guess somebody did that, David Mello, actually. So thank you for the feedback, guys. Keep it up. We know it's not where you want it to be yet. We will get there. Give us some time. And as I said, we're going through the divisions now. We're giving a broader look as we come back around, especially as the playoff race heats up. We're going to go more in depth and more in detail, give you guys some better, deeper information based on games and stuff like that. Obviously, we have these two guys who are always around the
facilities.
The facilities, I guess, the arenas. And hit them up if there's any information. Send those emails in. The more information you give us, the better information we can present as well. So without further ado, that's it from us here at the third period. We will see you here next week. But until then,
good night, NBHL.
all right, I like it. Let's do it. That's a good finish.